is Finnegan Farrell. He's so happy and smiley. When was the last time you told someone your story? Not where you work, not where you went to school, not the polished version, the real one. The one with mistakes and fears and all the parts of life you're still trying to figure out. Because I think most of us spend our lives trying to find our voice when we pretty much had it all along. One day I was surfing in Ireland, not particularly well I might add. My friends and I were traveling around the beautiful Emerald Isle, through all these little towns with names I cannot pronounce. And there was something about that landscape and the cliffs and the ocean and all the green and the people, the music, the pubs, the stories. Ireland has this feeling that stories aren't something that you read or tell, but they're something that you inherit. And somewhere in this little town of Lahinch, I had the kernel of an idea. What if there was an Irish boy who couldn't find his voice? That was it. No ending, no plot, just one question. But that tiny idea became one of the most magical concerts we've ever created. A few weeks later, I was on a flight home to Seattle with my brother Mike. He asked me about that year's concert, and I remember telling him, this one has to be visual. I need an artist to help me tell this story, but I have no idea who. And then the guy literally sitting next to us in our aisle says, I'm an artist. I thought he was joking, but he wasn't. That was the day I met Dave Peixoto, and he pulled out his portfolio, and it was charming and lovely and exactly what I had imagined. So naturally, I asked if I could buy him a beer, and over those beers, I told him the idea of the story and the concept. And by the time we landed, I had my artist. Sometimes life just kind of conspires to help you sometimes. At that time in Seattle, I was living at the top of this building overlooking Lake Union in downtown. And one night, the story just arrived. It hit me. I grabbed some dry erase markers, started writing directly on my windows like a crazy person. I was so inspired though, line after line, looking over the city, writing on the glass, and then I realized it's rhyming. I didn't plan that, but I went with it. A few hours later, probably at 3 or 4 in the morning, I had almost the entire story, just didn't have the ending, which took me another 2 months. Apparently my brain likes dramatic entrances and very slow exits. This concert became unlike anything we'd ever attempted. I invited this priest from Belfast to read Finnegan's story. I wrote for the orchestra in the exact way I write music for a film. It was emotional and exciting, and it followed Finnegan's every step around the world and across Ireland. My new friend and artist Dave Peixoto was painting the illustrations live on the stage. We projected them like 80 feet across above the orchestra. It was like a giant, colorful storybook that drew itself as the story unfolded. It felt less like a concert and more like stepping completely into a story. But the concert was a blast. I had the Seattle Firefighters Pipes and Drums Brigade. They were incredible. The Gothard sisters joined us. They played such beautiful Celtic music. There was bagpipes, there was dancing, there was Guinness somehow snuck onto the stage. After writing this story and this symphony, what I eventually realized was this. Finnegan wasn't really finding his voice. He was finding his courage to use it. And those are two very different things. I think all of us have something worth saying, a story, an experience, a failure, a dream. But we're afraid no one will care or someone will judge us. But the moment we share those stories, we stop feeling alone because someone inevitably says, I feel the same way. Or I felt that too. That year, our patient musician was a boy named Clayton. He was so much fun. He was on dialysis for years waiting for a kidney transplant. Waiting, hoping, and one day I get this call from him. They found me a kidney! And within one day, he had the operation, the transplant. I'll never forget the excitement in his voice. His life changed overnight. Watching Clayton perform that year, I kept thinking, there it is again. Another person discovering their voice. And another person discovering hope. I think that's why this concert has stayed so near and dear to me throughout the years. I mean, I am half Irish. It wasn't totally about choirs or dancers or singers or orchestras or bagpipes or paintings or priests or Guinness hidden on the stage. It was about reminding people your story matters. Not because it's perfect, but because it's yours. And somewhere out there, someone needs to hear it. Because your story may inspire them or help them feel understood and seen, or give them the courage to tell you their story. The following year, I became fascinated by something completely different. Not stories, but moments. And I wondered if we slowed down time, what would it feel like to live inside of a moment? Like live inside of a hug or a kiss. The next year was my symphony lens.